What feeds your soul? What makes you get up in the morning with a spring in your step and a smile on your face? What really makes you emotionally healthy? Join me to find out. What feeds your soul? You know, that's a really important question to ask ourselves, because if you rarely wake up excited, looking forward to the day, if you wake up mostly defeated and discouraged and despairing, something's off in your life, and it is worth taking the time to try to get to the bottom of what is off so that you can begin flourishing. Parents who are not healthy emotionally will not respond well to their children's needs, failures, and mistakes. So this is a very important question that requires a lot of our attention. I will say that there are seasons in our life where we've had maybe a death in the family, or we've had an incredibly challenging season financially, and we really are struggling. And that is normal. That's a normal part of life. But if it's like that for years on end, then there's definitely something to consider. What happens is we turn into parents who go into autopilot. We stop looking into our own hearts to discern if there's any kind of bitterness or resentments, any kind of anger or anxiety, and we have undealt with emotions. And when we have undealt with emotions, it's because we usually lack introspection and quiet. And that will develop into unhealthy spiritual state, unhealthy emotional state, and eventually it will begin to affect our bodies. So, unfortunately, with this modern age, the last thing we look at is our phone, and the first thing we wake up to is social media. We've got to check our social media before we get out of bed. And so there's never time for quiet. And to numb out the negative emotions, what do? Sometimes we stress eat. You know, we're not turning to carrots and hummus. We're going to Chick-fil-A and we're getting milkshakes with extra cream, or stopping at Costco and getting a slice of pizza for $1.99 and eating it on the way home, and nobody will ever know unless you leave the plate in the front seat. So those are ways that we're coping, and those are signs that something is off emotionally. One of the things I found out about myself is that in order for me to be emotionally healthy, I need to go outside. Now, it's interesting how I found this out. I was watching a BBC miniseries, and every time the opening sequence came on, I would begin crying. Let me tell you why. The opening scene was this. It was the hero and the heroine on a horse, riding on a cliff through tall grass. There was an amazing sunset with clouds and rain. And every time that came on, I began crying because I know my body was longing to be outdoors. You see, 5 years ago, we had moved from Austin, Texas, where there was trees and grass and rivers, back to El Paso, where my husband and I had first met 25 years ago. And we are in the high desert. There's sun everywhere. And I am honestly paranoid of getting skin cancer. So I was never going outside. And what I learned is that my body had begun to notice that there was something huge that was not being taken care of. So the way I solved that problem is I began to go mountain biking with my son Chase. He'd been asking me for many months, "Mom, please go mountain biking with me." So I said, okay, let's do it. So I grabbed his bike, he grabbed his big brother's bike, and we went to some trails here about a mile from our house. I cannot tell you what it did for my soul. I began to feel the wind rushing through my hair. I began to see the beautiful landscape, the mountains, the cactus. The desert has its own beauty. You have to look for it. Occasionally we'd see a little animal scurrying across. It was exactly what I needed. And so you need to find out, what is it that you need? What are some changes that you need to make? I would encourage you to grab a journal. Ask yourself these 4 questions. Who do I need to forgive? Second question, what do I want? Third question, what do I need? Fourth question, what do I need to let go of and let God deal with? As you answer these questions, you will begin to see a plan emerge. You will begin to see some things in your life that maybe you've been overlooking, that you haven't been dealing with, that have been holding you back emotionally. You will begin to be able to see what is truly feeding your soul. And the most important thing is that you will be able to give your child a emotionally healthy parent who responds properly to them when they have those needs, those mistakes, those issues in their life where they need a parent who is strong and wise and loving. So let's just take a minute and recap. If you are not an emotionally healthy parent, chances are you are not responding well to your child, to their needs, their failures, and their mistakes. Secondly, you need some introspection and quiet, and it is critical for discerning what you need to flourish. So this week, take some time, grab a journal, grab a pen, and ask yourself the questions that I went through. Who do I need to forgive? What do I want? What do I need? And what do I need to let go and let God? And last but not least, it is your responsibility to create this life where you are bringing your best to the table for raising your children. Because remember, emotionally healthy parents really do make amazing parents.